nomination for Commissioner of Agriculture and Consumer Services. I served in legislature for 8 years, 4 terms. I got termed out in 2000. We've been moving around the state, Lynn and I, talking to a lot of people. We've enjoyed renewing old acquaintances in my old district and making new ones. I'm the only candidate in the contest on the Democratic side that's had any previous legislative experience, and what that means to you is I come to the job day one. I've been there. I've worked with 3 commissioners of agriculture. I was ranking Democrat on appropriations as vice chair. I did 2 budgets for the state, including that budget, and I know the personnel there, and I have watched for an opportunity to do this for all of us for a long time. This is the first time in 130 years that we are seeing so many seats open and changing, and that's really a problem for a lot of people. You're the voice of agriculture, but your voice has to be heard. And after November 2nd, 2010, we're going to have a new government in Florida. You may or may not like that. So you need to stay involved with this game from the beginning and through every contest, because it's important how it ends up. It's going to change. My family's been in farming. They've been in citrus and cattle and pine trees for over 100 years. We did the pine trees across I-10 and down the west coast and down the east coast. My grandfather wanted to grow citrus. Our groves were frozen out in Hastings in 1895, so he went to Fort Pierce. After World War II, we weren't doing so well squeezing pine trees, so we decided to get in the cattle business. My uncle came back and threw a fence up around our property. We bought 200 head of cattle from Reuben Carlton and turned them loose in there. And we raised the calf crop the first year. We didn't even have a bull. My uncle says that our neighbor's bull must have jumped the fence, but we had to take his word for that. How he raised the calf crop, I don't know, but the Harrisons were using the land. It was all open and unfenced, so probably trapped a few of their cows and bulls in there. But we've been in the cow business ever since. We've been in the citrus business ever since. My education is in horticultural science and animal science. I have an MBA. I've been in the citrus and cattle business myself for 30 years. I was a Farm Bureau president for 3 years. I was on the board 17 years, so I went to Tallahassee. I set your policy for Florida, and I also carried that message to Washington, the Farm Bill in the 1980s. So I know your issues. I feel like we're among friends here, and it's good to be back home. The Larry McMurtry movie, Lonesome Dove, you remember when Cat McCall went back to Lonesome Dove with Gus? And he got back there and the new people said, they say you're a man of vision. And he said, yeah, I have a hell of a vision. Well, I've had a vision in Florida, and I'd like to share some of that with you. One of the first bills I did was for public access and good land management. You may know that in 1994 I did that. That's become the base bill for all of the environmental protection in Florida ever since. All your land easements are there, your water policies were set there, minimum flows and levels were set there, public access to lands, and that's the foundation that we have been able to use to preserve up to 10 million acres in Florida right now. It also gave you the ability to enter that program and get paid for it. And welfare reform in 1995, I got out and created a bill that reinvented welfare. It took all the food stamps away, and it put us on a debit card and took a lot of the fraud out. President Clinton picked that bill up the next year and ran it across the country. I've heard him since say it was one of the issues that he accomplished during his presidency that he was most proud of. I did a safe teenage driving bill, the Justin Marks bill for somebody in Wellington. It gave curfews, it gave hands-on teenage driving in all the counties. It locked the kids down with the seatbelts. You can't have any more kids in the car than you have seatbelts. And it saved thousands of lives. So we've improved on that some since then. My father was in the hospital. I became aware of some health care issues. I got involved with health care and tackled the certificate of need process. I'm not sure how many of you are aware of that, but that is a franchising medicine in Florida. We don't need that with 19 million people here and I was able to get the move going to get rid of that. We've done away with 2/3 of it. There's still a third left, but that accounts for affordability, accessibility, accountability, and availability to our senior citizens for that. One of the other things that I accomplished, and this was done in 2000, was trauma care. I don't know how many of you know. I found out after I left Tallahassee that you're bare in Tallahassee for trauma care. You have to go to Pensacola or Shands in Jacksonville or in Gainesville for trauma care. That's unconscionable. Rural Floridians should have a better opportunity at trauma care and not be categorized as second-class citizens. I passed a bill that provided for that. We need to fund it. As you know, that golden hour is so important. If you happen to have a bus full of kids and you get 2 choppers in there, or if the weather's bad and you can't get any choppers in there, then what do you do? How do you decide how to handle it? I also was fortunate to be aware of a pilot program in Palm Beach for a nurse in every school. I passed a bill that provided that. When you and I went to school, we had nurses in our schools. That's how you get health care delivery to your students and your kids there. They found all kinds of learning disabilities. They found issues with child abuse, and we're able to deal with those people at an early age to give them glasses or medication or whatever they needed to be able to be successful in our school program. I'll support the school lunch program. I think good nutrition is important. That's where people learn their eating habits, and we'll have good, safe, wholesome foods in our schools. I'll eliminate price gouging. I see we just were able to get a $2.3 million verdict 5 years later after Fay with one of the large oil wholesalers. They made $5 billion, and they got a $2.3 million fine 5 years later. And some are talking about leaving the state because they don't understand what that is. Well, you know, if your profit margin grows after the storm, it's price gouging, and we're going to enforce that. And it's going to be a serious enforcement. It's not going to be a slap on the wrist. How many people do you think are going to come back to that opportunity to make $4.something billion on something like that? So this office also deals with telemarketing with your senior citizens in their homes and others, and they are becoming victims of all kinds of scams. You know, we'll enforce that and have a regulatory process with that. You know about the weights and balances when you check out of the food market, when you're at the gas pump. Those are all controlled by this department, and that you get the right amount of fertilizer in your sack and it says, you know, the label's right. Those are all inspection things that will have to be done. I don't believe in offshore drilling. I think that puts our tourist industry at risk. We have 3 legs, that's agribusiness, tourism, and business. We do not need to try and help one by damaging the other. I think our solution is the farm to fuel effort that we had this big seminar on in Orlando, and there's people that are working on that, and if it works in Brazil, and it does, it can work here, and I think that's our new energy need solution. Overweight vehicles. When I was in the legislature, I learned that our department didn't have arrest powers, and they'd have to bring in a deputy or a highway patrolman when they stopped somebody on the road, and I was able to give them arrest powers. We certainly need to be cognizant of our safety issues on the highways, and this department does those through those inspection stations. I'll be for aggressive marketing of foreign products, foreign and domestic, and as a advisor to our local IFAS research in St. Lucie County and helping with USDA. We just had our advisory meeting yesterday. I'll continue to work with IFAS and private industry to create the needed research that's kept us so viable. And that's the only way with the screwworm and greening and canker we've been able to survive. And I feel confident we'll find those solutions, and hopefully in a timely manner. I'm for public transportation. We could have had a high-speed rail program by now. It's the safest way to move a lot of people around Florida, economically and environmentally sensitive. And we can do that, and we will do that, and I think that you'll see those stimulus dollars come into some kind of a program here. This is a job that I want. It's a job that I don't plan to go to another job from. It's not musical chairs. It's a position that I prepared myself for.